Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to CJP's Center for Combating Antisemitism's Rally to Stand Up for Jewish Students. We're so honored you're here today to help us stand with our students. Please welcome to the stage Cantor Alicia Stillman of Temple Israel Boston and Cantor Shauna Zell of Temple Beth Elohim of Wellesley.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave? Please join me. Kol od balevav penima, nefesh Yehudi homia, ulfatei mizrach kadima, ayin letzion Sophia, od lo avda tikvateinu, hatikva bat shnot alpayim, להיות עם חופשי בארצנו, ארץ ציון וירושלים, להיות עם חופשי בארצנו, ארץ ציון וירושלים.
Good afternoon, and happy Passover. It's both surreal, but also incredibly inspiring to be together with you during this holiday. I'm Melissa Garlick, and I lead CJP's Center for Combating Antisemitism. CJP's Center for Combating Antisemitism is committed to standing against Jew hate here in Boston. When we see or experience anti-Semitism, we say something. And make no mistake, we are seeing anti-Semitism on campus. So we are here today to say something and to stand in support and solidarity with our students, faculty, and campus professionals. We are proud to live in Boston, a city with a thriving Jewish community and a history of academic rigor, debate, and discourse. We welcome complexity, But when our students are scared to go to school, when our students are nervous walking into their dorms, when our students are terrified to share their support and love of Israel, when across the country students have heard, quote, Zionists don't deserve to live, quote, go back to Poland, quote, you're lucky I'm not killing Zionists, quote, there is only one solution, Intifada revolution. We will stand up. We will speak up. And we will support them. And that is why we're here today. Our students tell us we feel gaslighted, dehumanized. We aren't allowed to decide what it means to support Israel. We are being told what is and is not anti-Semitism. Our Zionism keeps us from joining other causes we care about. There is a double standard, and we feel ostracized by those we thought were our friends. When our students are scared, when our students feel their voices are not being heard, we gathered today 1,000 strong to say, not in Boston. Do not be scared. Be proud. Be bold. Be brave. Lead the way. You know who you are. You know what this community stands for. Joyful Judaism, respectful debate, love of our Jewish homeland. Be proud. We are proud of you. Students may be going home for the summer, but we're not. When schools come back in the fall, we will make sure that Boston lives up to its ideals as a hub of higher education and of equity and diversity by welcoming and supporting Jewish students. Our center will make sure that Jews in Boston can live loudly, proudly, and safely. Today we gather for one purpose, to support our courageous students and leaders on campus who have been on the front lines of anti-Semitism, but who have been fighting for these ideals on behalf of our community. You will hear today from students, professionals, and faculty on campuses in Greater Boston. Listen to their stories and to their calls of action and take them with you. By being here today, you are taking action. You are inspiring our next generation. You are showing what this community is about, love and support. I'm now proud to turn over the mic to our students. First, Lishi Baker from Brookline, Massachusetts, and a student at Columbia University.
Thank you all for being here. Feel free to come closer. My name is Alicia Baker. I'm a sophomore at Columbia University studying Middle East history and Arabic language. On October 9th, Columbia's Students for Justice in Palestine and Jewish Voice for Peace published a joint statement expressing solidarity with Palestinian resistance and calling the October 7th Hamas attacks an unprecedented historic moment for the Palestinians of Gaza. On October 12th, 15 days before the IDF entered Gaza, these same groups held a protest on campus, screaming, "Globalize the Intifada," and demanding from Columbia full divestment from an academic boycott of Israel. Horrified by our peers' inability to recognize our humanity and the humanity of Israelis, yet still reeling from our unimaginable loss, Columbia's Jewish community came together to mourn publicly in silence and in song. On October 12th, even in the face of such violence and such hate, it was a moment for mourning and for community. October 7th is not a day that we can simply stop mourning. We cannot let what is happening in America take our minds away from those still in captivity and their families, nor from any of our loved ones in Israel on the front lines of a real war. And if there's anything we do know for sure today, it is that we too are fighting a war of our own on college campuses and across America. Every week for more than 6 months, I walked by a new version of the same protest. What began with From the River to the Sea and globalized the Intifada has escalated to We don't want no Zionists here and Death to the Zionist state. And we kept sounding the alarm. We tried to explain that calling for Intifada on the streets of New York and on the streets of Boston is a direct threat against Jews. That this vilification of Israel is the newest iteration of blaming the Jews for the world's problems, also known as textbook anti-Semitism. Yet no one seemed to listen. I was told personally that I was interpreting their words wrong, that my experience of threats was a product of my own misunderstanding. And they tokenized a girl wearing a keffiyeh and a kippah as if to say, we have Jews here, so we couldn't be anti-Semitic. Very quickly, I came to realize that the true evil of this deep-rooted campus anti-Semitism is this double standard. What other minority could call out threats against them and be met with gaslighting and denial? For the last 10 days, my friends and I have experienced firsthand what happens when society refuses to believe us because we are Jews. We were told inside the campus gates that we are all inbred and that we have no culture. We were told to go back to Europe, to go back to Poland. A girl held up a sign pointing at my friends with American and Israeli flags, with a sign pointing at them, calling them Al-Qassam's next targets. Al-Qassam, for those who don't know, is the military brigade of Hamas. And as you might have read in the New York Times yesterday, a video of the leader of Columbia's encampment surfaced in which he states that Zionists do not deserve to live. 3 of my friends were physically assaulted inside the campus gates. And on the streets of New York City, somebody lit my American flag on fire while I was holding it and burned a hole through my shirt. This is not normal. This is not pro-peace. And this surely is not progressive. This is dangerous. So what am I doing here today? What are we all doing here today? I'm here today for the same reason that my friends and I and so many of you have been speaking up and standing up for the past almost 7 months. Because as a Bostonian, I was raised and educated to belong to 2 tribes, the Jewish people and Boston sports teams. But seriously, I have been taught the history, the complexity, and the nuance of the Jewish people, of Israel, and of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. I've spent a year studying at the Hartman Institute in Jerusalem and taken classes at Columbia with Palestinian intellectuals. I understand how complicated this conflict is, and I'm fighting on my campus for Israel, for the Jewish community, and for the values of America and of liberal education. So what does this fight look like for me and for my peers? It looks like 4 close friends drinking scotch at 2 in the morning after a long day of filming, putting our videos in an iMovie, posting it on social media, and sending it to allies and friends to broadcast it to the world. I'm so grateful to be in this with friends who support me and who always lift me up. And we all really need our friends right now. It looks like waking up the next day, renting a bin from Columbia, lugging a table and 4 massive posters on stands, and a newly printed set of hostage posters to campus, then setting it up and sitting there for 3 hours while some peers glare at us and deny our story, and friends stop by to show their support. It looks like speaking to media and meeting with university leaders, drawing clear lines about where the boundaries are, and demanding, both privately and publicly, that my school's administration and the adults who are responsible for keeping us safe enforce their policies. My friends and I are going to continue to do our best to keep this up, because what other choice do we have? Every one of us has a role to play, and we need all of you with us in this fight. We do this because we are proud of who we are, we care deeply about Israel and about the Jewish people, and we do this because we know that if we all don't step up, no one else will. So thank you all for being here and stepping up.
If any of you were doubting or hesitant to come today, I wish you could see what I see. And I want to thank you. I want to thank you on behalf of the thousands of students, both Jewish and not, at Harvard, where I spend my life, together with Elke, running the Harvard Chabad House, and on campuses across Boston. We heard a courageous and inspired and strong voice. But he was raised in a family and he had the privilege of an upbringing. At least it's not every student has that strength, has that courage. And many of them are frightened and feel very alone in this moment. Thank you for being here and telling them that they're not alone and standing by them to support them. 3,336 years ago today, our ancestors experienced a rude awakening. On the 7th day after the liberation from Egypt, there they were. It was after 10 devastating plagues that had broken the might of the Egyptians and compelled them to free the Jewish people. It was after 2 centuries of exile and slavery. The children of Israel were headed towards Mount Sinai and their covenant with God. Indeed, this was the stated purpose of the Exodus. But suddenly, the sea was before them. Pharaoh's armies were pursuing them from behind and closing in. Egypt of the time was alive and well. The sea, too, seemed oblivious to the destiny of a newly born nation. How did we react as a people then? Our sages tell us that the Jewish people were divided in 4 camps. There were those who said, sadly, let us throw ourselves in the sea. Complete loss of hope. And the idea of going back to Egypt for torture was not an option. Jump into the sea. A second group said, let us just surrender and return to Egypt. A third faction argued that let us wage war on the Egyptians. We'll give it our best shot. Finally, the fourth camp advocated, let us pray, recognizing that the other 3 options were not a solution. Let us put our hands in that of Almighty God and pray for his salvation. Interestingly, Moses, however, rejected all 4 options. He said, fear not. Stand by and see the salvation of God, explains our sages, is Moses' response to those who had despaired of overcoming the Egyptian threat and wanted to plunge themselves into the sea. He continued, and you have seen Egypt, as you have seen Egypt this day, you shall not see them ever again. Here he addresses those who advocated surrender and to return to Egypt. God shall fight for you, is his answer to those who wish to battle. and you shall be silent, is Moses' rejection to those who said, this is beyond us, so let us pray. What then is a Jew to do when caught between a hostile mob and an unyielding sea? Speak to the children of Israel, God says to Moses. They should go forward. Friends, the road to Sinai was rife with obstacles and challenges. The same is true for the road from Sinai, our 3,000-year journey devoted to implementing our values and our vision for a world healed, redeemed, and perfected. Now as then, there are several possible responses to an adverse world. And what does God say? Speak to the children of Israel and let them go forward. Indeed, all different approaches have a time and a place. Indeed, those who are fighting at this moment, the IDF who risks their lives, our brothers and sisters every day to watch over our children, to protect the Jewish people, to fight to bring home the hostages, to secure our borders, to bring them home. Indeed, to bring them home. Bring them home, indeed. We honor them, we're humbled by them, and we pledge to do everything in our power to support them. We also express our gratitude to law enforcement who's here, not only here to protect our ability to be together, but those who enforce the law and ensured the safety of our Jewish students on campus in Boston. We salute Mayor Wu, who was just disinvited to come to Harvard because she allowed the police to do their work and not allow the chance to shut down the Hillel at Emerson, God forbid. So yes, the IDF, Israel Defense Forces, they're there simply to defend the lives of our people from those who want to murder them. They should have our support at every moment, and we honor and salute all those who keep us safe here in Boston. But we who are gathered here, we will keep our eyes on the prize. We are marching towards the promised land. Let's not get distracted by those who hate. When Jews are hated, what's our response? We love them more. We walk out, we march, we continue on this journey and commit to one another. We pledge to look out for one another. And this is why we're so grateful to our leaders, CJP, who headed by Mark Baker, our chair, Lorraine Sperling, the leader of our campus efforts, Mayor Zimmerman, for bringing all our students and campus leaders and indeed the entire Boston Jewish community together to stand by our students, by our faculty, and to support those who are hesitant, who are seeking courage to do the right thing and ensure the safety of our campuses for all, that they indeed enforce the rules as they should and restore the dignity of higher education and restore the glory of America. Friends, I conclude with the prayer and the blessing of Maimonides. And this is what we embody, and this is what fills and pervades our consciousness in this moment in the holiday of Passover. We will work every day to bring about a world that has no more hate, no more war, no more jealousy, but love and understanding and peace. And we do that by sharing our vision, by continuing to be a light unto the nations, by sharing those values that have kept us as a people till this day, and that of love and compassion and justice and freedom and dignity for all people, indeed for all people. And for that, I want to say again, thank you to each and every one of you. I don't know if you know, so please know, you're being here today and every day supporting our students, supporting our community, CJP's efforts in galvanizing this community to ensure the safety of our students, the security, the generosity that this community has shown for Israel in this difficult and tragic and horrible moment. That unity and that love will bring us to the promised land. Thank you for being here. Chag Sameach.
Wow. Hello. My name is Julia Friedman, and I'm a first-year undergraduate student at Boston College. I came to Boston to learn, to experience the world firsthand, and to become a seasoned adult. Since October, I've learned and experienced a lot, more than I could have ever imagined. Mostly, I've learned about human nature, and sadly, I've learned about what is being taught on our college campuses. I've learned all about hate. I've also learned a lot about ignorance and arrogance. I've learned that intelligent, well-intentioned people can be easily coerced into hateful and dangerous mobs in the distorted name of false virtue. I watched it in real time on my own college campus when a professor encouraged student protesters to wear masks so that nobody could identify them. It was in this moment that I realized that no one is coming to save us. But if I have learned anything during this whole thing, I have learned that I am not a Jew with trembling knees. I recently read a post on social media where the author apologizes to the Jews of the 1930s. Why were they so apathetic? Why did the Jews not fight back? How could they have timidly accepted an organized movement with a clear and stated mission to eliminate all Jews from the earth? To those Jews that were murdered in the Holocaust, I am sorry. And I am sorry that we questioned you, because we are exactly where you were in the 1930s. And to those who survived, I am sorry. I am sorry that we ignored your repeated reminders to never forget. I'm sorry because we have forgotten. We are the same Jews today. Nothing over the last few months has been normal for Jews, except that it has become normal to publicly hate Jews. But I am not a Jew with trembling knees. I am hopeful, and my eyes are wide open. I am hopeful that we will find solidarity together, one voice as strong Jewish community. I am hopeful that this is a wake-up call to wake up to what is happening on our campuses. I thought universities were safe places, havens of inclusion. Yet I have been proven that our elite universities have become the most dangerous place for Jews in the United States. And I know those are strong words, and they hurt to say, but they hurt to feel. But I will say it again. Universities in the United States have become the most dangerous place for Jews. Jews are in danger on college campuses every day, right now. Campuses ground zero for radical public defamation of Jews, violence against Jews, and the campuses are training grounds for the legions of anti-Semites that you see all over the news and all over social media. Hate is written all over the syllabus. Anti-Semitism, packaged in a wrapper of academic righteousness, gets reduced to easily digestible phrases, mantras to be repeated by uninformed, impressionable young minds seeking a cause and a sense of purpose. Students claiming virtue that they have not earned, saying words that they don't even understand. When you hear it, you must call it out as it is: anti-Semitism. Here are some of my favorites. Quote, "I have nothing against Jews. I just hate Zionists," end quote. Translation, "You're telling me that you only like me when I am weak, silent, and defenseless." Quote, "I have nothing against Jews. I just hate what Israel does," end quote. Translation, "You don't believe that the Jews have a right to their own nation and to defend themselves, even when there are terrorists that rape and murder." Quote, "It depends on the context," end quote. This one is my favorite. Translation, "Hate will not be tolerated in any form unless it's against Jews. And then you'll decide and let me know if it's anti-Semitism. You're an anti-Semite." Hate cannot be made virtuous with context, but I have hope. I have hope that there's been something else that has been sweeping across our campuses since October 7th, and that is strong Jewish pride, strong Jewish unity. I have hope because enrollment for Jewish learning at Boston College has hit record highs. I have hope that these bonds that unite Jews span the globe and span millennia and is stronger than ever. We will not be intimidated. We will not waver. We will not be silenced. We will not disappear. We will thrive. It is our only choice. In the words of one of the world's first female prime ministers, Golda Meir, she says, quote, "Pessimism is a luxury that a Jew can never allow himself," end quote. Because we are not Jews with trembling knees. Thank you.
Good afternoon. As you just heard, my name is Miriam Blue, and I'm the Executive Director of Hillel Council of New England, a multi-campus umbrella that works with 12 colleges and universities with smaller Jewish populations across Massachusetts. I am here today representing my fellow Hillel colleagues who have been working tirelessly alongside our student leaders to support Jewish students and provide moments of Jewish joy despite all of the uncertainty and upheaval that has been consuming their college experience since October 7th. On their behalf and on behalf of the 15,000 or more Jewish college students in our own community here in Boston, we are here today to say enough is enough. Jewish students have the right to an equal education, one where they can be their authentic selves and not live in fear. Fear of whether they're going to be targeted in the classroom, fear of what they will overhear or what will be said to them anywhere over campus. And after such a stressful day on campus, when they finally make it back to their dorms, what is supposed to be their homes, their refuge, they're stricken with hateful, harassing notes and images drawn on whiteboards on their own doors. And they are afraid of who they may run into in the hallways and the restrooms. No one should have to live like this. We call upon presidents and administrators of universities to finally take a stand and demand that Jewish students have the right to their education, to be their authentic selves, including openly sharing their Jewish and Zionist identities, the right not to be harassed and assaulted. Jewish students have the right to be believed and for the consequences and actions to be taken against perpetrators of anti-Semitism, just like any other act of hate or bias. Jewish students have the right to be safe. Some administrators have responded, and we are grateful for their statements and letters denouncing acts of anti-Semitism. But when no or little action or consequences are taken, it sends a message to our Jewish students that they don't matter. When administrators respond in statements that anti-Semitic activity will not be tolerated, but then add in for good measure no other form or hater bias such as racism, Islamophobia, and the like will be tolerated either, they're telling Jewish students that anti-Semitism on campus isn't important enough to call out on its own. If a racist or Islamophobic incident on campus happened, no one would expect university leaders to conflate other kinds of hate when they were specifically addressing one aimed at a particular community. The same attention and care needs to be given to the Jewish campus experience. Jewish students deserve better. On a recent spring break volunteer trip through our Hillel and CJP's Boston-Haifa connection, in our last group debriefing session, each student said that they felt more at home and more safe in Israel, where they could be their true selves, and that they were terrified of what awaited for them back when classes resumed in Boston. And unfortunately, we have seen that since then, in mid-March, tensions have in fact escalated, and they were right, and that breaks my heart. Hillel is the heart and soul of Jewish life on campus, a place of refuge, of solace and solidarity, and of community, a place where students can come together to celebrate, to learn and grow, and yes, even to debate and disagree. Now more than ever, our Jewish students need Hillel on campus. I am sure many of you have heard that some institutions are offering extended deadlines for transfer applications and are encouraging students to think about leaving their current places of study. And perhaps the grass is in fact greener elsewhere. But I can tell you that Jewish students choosing an exit strategy, especially at campuses with small Jewish populations, will not help us build the critical mass and leverage needed to affect change. Losing even just a few students on campuses, in particular with small populations, will give in to the fear and will let those who are trying to intimidate us win. Now is the time to lean in and double down with our message that the Jewish community isn't going anywhere. We read in Pirkei Avot, Ethics of the Father, that Rabbi Tarfon said, "Lo alecha hamlecha ligmor, velo ata ben chorin lihibatel mimena." It is not for you to complete the task, but neither are you free to desist from it. So for those who have no choice but to stay, and for those of you who are choosing to stay and to fight, I can promise you this: we will be here with you every step of the way. We will keep building Jewish community on campus and creating Jewish joy every day, even in these dark times. Thank you, Chag Sameach, and Am Yisrael Chai.
Hello, I'm Ronnie Moser. I'm 19, and I'm an Israeli freshman at Emerson College. Keep a low profile. Don't tell anyone you're Israeli. Don't speak Hebrew on campus. Already on October 7th, I got these sadly familiar instructions from my parents, and I have been very careful to follow. Since October, we've seen a terrifying spike in anti-Semitism and have been experiencing alarming behaviors at Emerson College, even though we are constantly being told we are exaggerating and inventing the fear. Though present and frustrating since October, anti-Semitism blew up in March on our campus, when 12 Emerson students were arrested during an anti-Israel protest. These events gave Emerson Student Justice for Palestine a lot of attention, and they used the momentum wisely. From that day, the organization began posting several times a day, holding meetings several times a week, and throwing protest after protest after protest. The aftermath of these first arrests divided our community, and it also allowed for more Jewish hate to spread. An organization called JAZ, Jews Against Zionism, open on campus, and the first thing they called for was the eradication of Hillel. All the build-up reached its climax when the encampment began. Emerson students set up tents, asked for food, supplies, and donations, wrote hateful speech on the walls and the floor, and screamed violent chants repeatedly. People have the right to protest, and people have the right to protest things we don't necessarily agree with. People shouldn't and don't have the right to use such violent and anti-Semitic speech. Long live the Intifada. Yeah. Long live the Intifada. Israel is anti-Semitic, from the river to the sea, or F Zionists. Jewish students were personally harassed to the point where many had to be removed from campus and temporarily placed in hotels. Friends of mine were called terrorists, were compared to the KKK, and were harassed and offended for believing Israel has the right to exist. The encampment gave overwhelming amounts of attention to SJP. As of today, Emerson SJP's Instagram account has 6,600 followers, which is more than the amount of students that go to our school. We are scared, we are intimidated, we feel alone, isolated, and attacked. And so, I am incredibly grateful to have found a Jewish community on my campus. A community that, contrary to what many people say, is large, accepting, and loving. We are here for each other, we support each other. We face disagreements, yet we exist in peace, and we have built a healthy environment to protect us from the hostility and the aggression surrounding us. I believe that if we can do this among ourselves, we can do it the same in larger groups. We can coexist in Emerson College, and therefore outside of it. Shutting down the people who disagree with you is not free speech, and is not liberalism. Distancing yourself from someone because they are Jewish, Israeli, or Zionist only fosters more hate, and does not further any cause. Emerson is a small school, and we often get ignored due to our size. But a smaller school doesn't mean a smaller problem. There are so many Jewish students here who feel unsafe, unprotected, and alone. And we need to help them. We don't want to be ignored. We want to be protected. We have created a beautiful, growing, and supportive environment. We have created a community and a family. There is no need to make the campus a war. There's enough war outside of it. Higher education should be a place which advocates for community and mature conversations which don't end in the harassment of Jewish students. I believe we can make a change. I believe we have a voice, and I believe we should use it. Thank you so much. Toda rabba.
Hello, my name is Orchen. I'm a professor of nuclear physics at MIT. Thank you. It feels as if not long ago I was just a kid in a chicken farm in Israel, and now I find myself standing in front of a new community that's been my home for the last 10 years under dire circumstances. I moved to the US about 10 years ago with my wife and our dogs to join the MIT faculty. I came here full of dreams, to help unlock some of the secrets of the universe and help build the new particle collider in the US. My identity as an Israeli has always been a big, profound part of who I am. Proud, perhaps a bit loud, and deeply connected to my roots. For many years, I was particularly not vocal about Jewish life on campus. I believed that the merits of my work should stand on their own, and that's it, and there's no need for anything else. But the tragic events of October 7 marks a significant pivot in my life here. Following the attacks back home, the silence of our community was unsettling. I felt compelled to act, so at a village in Boston Common, surrounded by many of you who shared my grief, I wrote to our president demanding to voice our anguish. The response came swiftly, and the statement from the university followed, providing some solace to our time of sorrow. Just days later, however, I encountered hate speech chalked at the entrance of my MIT building. The starkness of the words against the concrete was just jarring. I could not, in good conscience, walk away. So I grabbed the broom and washed the hate away myself. The simple act of cleansing became a powerful symbol of resilience and a clear message that we, as a community, stand united against hatred. Later that day, I spoke at a local MIT vigil, where I opened my office to anyone who wants to come and talk. To my great surprise, many students came, often in tears, exposing me to a reality I was simply not aware of on our campus. It was a consistent story about how they feel their friends stand against them, about how they always try to support other communities through their struggles, but are now being blamed for the massacre of their own family and friends. How despite the unimaginable complexity of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, their peers are trying to dumb it down to oppressors and oppressed narratives, justifying resistance by any means possible. It would not be for several months that I would learn that already on October 8, SJP circulated a resilience toolkit to campus groups, including detailed instructions on narrative building, protest organization, and campus and social media advocacy. Having seen the documents, I now realize they came into this extremely well prepared, organized, and funded. Indeed, it was not a week after October 7 when they've started recruiting more and more students on our campus, calling to globalize the Intifada and for the elimination of the State of Israel. While I did not realize back then what we were standing against, what was clear is that we are failing in the education of our students. As faculty, independently of political views, the uncritical and ignorant way these students are approaching such a complex issue showed that we are failing as educators. The experience of our Jewish students were the catalyst that stirred me into action. Together with my colleague, Professor Tal Cohen, who is here today as well, we reached out to every Israeli faculty member at MIT and created what is now known as the Faculty for Israel group, and including many American Jewish friends and leaders who are with us here today. The group was formed in response to a crisis, but it fosters a long-term commitment to uphold the values of understanding and protecting our community. We initiated community lunches held twice a week, which quickly evolved from a small gathering into a robust forum of dialogue and support. Here, members of the Jewish community, encompassing a wide spectrum of views from staunch Zionists to those with no interest in politics, engage in open, sometimes tough discussions. These lunches have proven crucial, offering a safe space for Jewish students and faculty to express and navigate their complex feelings and viewpoints. It is there where we formed friendships and personal ties, long-lasting bonds, and it is there where the MIT Israel Alliance group was forged, transforming our reactive measures into proactive strategy. The Alliance has been instrumental in addressing campus issues, employing a nuanced understanding of the diverse strengths of our community to strategize effective responses. The diversity of perspective, while occasionally challenging, has been undeniably enriching to our collective resilience. With the semester drawing to a close, the challenges we are facing are far from over. We are actively combating bigotry on campus these days with encampments, and we're trying to ensure that commencement ceremonies remain a celebration of academic achievements free from fear and intimidation. To succeed in that, we need everyone here to take part and act. Thank you. So I call on all of my faculty colleagues across the US to do more. We have more power than we think. Find like-minded colleagues and get organized. Meet in person with your peers and affected students, as we have at MIT. Build a community. Start working together at every level to change the climate on campus. To parents here, I want to say that I know it is scary times. but I personally urge you, keep sending your students to our campuses. Don't let them send us away. Across the country, Jewish faculty are waking up to the extent of the crisis and will be there to support your children. I can say for myself that the supporting, diverse, and tight-knit Jewish community that we have formed at MIT is something I wish that I had as a student, and I wish for my own child when he gets to college. To students, I wish I could say it will all be fine once the summer comes, but it will not. All indications point that we are facing tough times ahead. Like your peers in Israel, you are also on a front line in a historical moment. Never give up. Be brave in the face of intimidation and always demand the support you deserve from your institutions, peers, and faculty. To Hillel, Chabad, organizations that support us all like the IAC and the CJP, you are a treasured resource for Jewish life on campus. Your support of students is invaluable, but so is your advocacy. At campus where the Jewish faculty are already organized, work with them to do more together. Where the faculty have not yet organized, be the catalyst to bring everybody together. Help document what is happening and communicate that forward. Last but not least, we need to do everything in our power to flood universities with Israeli and Jewish brilliance. Along with a group of MIT faculty, I recently traveled to Israel, where we met with the heads of the Israeli universities, President Herzog and many others, to understand what can we do here to both help situation on our campuses, but also help the Israeli academia. From these conversations, Professor Ernest Frankel and I decided to launch a new program called Kalaniot. The goal of Kalaniot is to transform the top US universities into a place where Jews and Israelis are not just welcome, but flourish. We intend to bolster the presence and visibility of Israeli scholars across the US campuses and basically counter-protest against bias, fostering a deep understanding between communities. By enriching our academic environments with a diverse array of voices and experiences, we hope to enhance collaboration and empathy across cultural divides. As I mentioned, a system of hate has been built to fight against our existence for many years now. We must catch up. So in conclusion, this moment calls for unity and collective action. We must come together not only as Jews and Israelis, but as members of a global academic community, united by our shared commitment to knowledge, respect, and integrity. We must ensure that every person, regardless of background or belief, feels valued, heard, and respected. It is our duty to foster an environment where dialogue trumps division, where education and understanding illuminates the shadows of ignorance and prejudice. Thank you for standing with me today, for showing that even in the dark times of turmoil, our community is resilient, our mission is clear, and our resolve is unbreakable. And to all the Jewish students out here, you are a remarkable generation. We all admire you. Keep up and keep proud. Thank you.
Am Yisrael Chai. Am Yisrael Chai. I love it. Hi, everyone. My name is Liat Weiss, and I'm a second-year student at Northeastern University. My heart is so full seeing everyone here, so thank you for being strong and standing here with us. The Passover Haggadah tells us, in every generation, there are those who seek to destroy the Jewish people. And over the past 4,000 years of our history, the quote has not yet been wrong. Through the same millennia, however, the Jewish people have shown remarkable resilience against these existential threats, a tradition that is important for our current generation of Jews to continue. Today, I would like to share a story that has fueled my own resilience. It begins at the time of King Solomon, or King Shlomo, who ruled the United Kingdom of Israel. One day, King Solomon had challenged one of his ministers to search for a ring that could turn a sad person happy and a happy person sad. Although the king himself had doubts, his humble servant set forth to find such a ring. After traveling all across the kingdom, the minister returned to Jerusalem empty-handed. Exhausted and ready to give up, the minister found himself in a neighborhood in front of a merchant with rings galore, and in a final effort to complete his king's request, he explained his mission. The merchant smiled and handed the minister a ring with the inscription, Gam ze ya'avor, this too shall pass. With great satisfaction, he returned to King Solomon. The king was so pleased that the minister had completed the challenge and was immediately humbled as he realized that his reign too would one day pass. Gam ze ya'avor, this too shall pass, is a reminder that the bad times won't last forever, and we must be present and appreciative of the good times that we have. It is in our hands to decide what we do with the time we have. Hiding in fear and wallowing in misery gets us nowhere. In the 1930s, we believed that if we assimilated into the countries of Europe, we would be protected from harm. As anyone with a basic knowledge of history can tell you, we were wrong. In 1947, these attitudes shifted. Once Israel was established, life as Jews in the diaspora changed. Finally, we can wear our Magen David necklaces. We can stand with our Jewish pride, and we can wave our flags because we now feel safe knowing that we have a Jewish state where we can find sanctuary. The worldwide acceptance of October 7th as a day of resistance is as terrifying as the anti-Semitism we have seen on our campuses since then. From students assaulting and harassing each other on campus, to Columbia professor Shai Davidai being denied access to his campus, along with all the anti-Semitism that we're seeing in the media, the more attacks on the Jewish people we see, the more the world is faced to acknowledge that there is a problem. Anti-Semitism is a virus that is institutionalized in our country and globally, and it is time that Jews and our allies raise our voices together and to put a stop to campus anti-Semitism and bring the hostages home. Bring them home. Bring them home. Bring them home. Every single one of them needs to be home. As Jews in the diaspora, we have a new mission: to make it impossible for the people around us to ignore our history. It is our duty to speak up and shove our Jewishness in everyone's faces. Share your Jewish identity with every single person you meet. Share your personal connection to Israel. Scream off the rooftops why you need Israel. These protesters are loud about their hatred for the Jewish people. We must use this noise to push ourselves further into our Jewish values. Believe in goodness. Engage in acts of charity. Tikkun olam, repair the world, and support each other. Ve'ahavta l're'acha kamocha. This is central to our survival. Despite the presence of thousands of pro-Palestinian and anti-Semitic voices, we must remember that we have survived by adhering to our Jewish values, to these values. And if we continue to do so, this too shall pass. It is our time to claim our space. Make our story and identity known. I implore you to find ways to speak up. Post on your story, write an op-ed, talk to your peers, and more importantly, seek support or opportunities from Jewish organizations like Chabad or Hillel on your campus. This past year, as an Emerson Fellow, I was able to make my voice heard. Find spaces to engage in your activism, and if you can't find a space, then create it. Time to act is now. Am Yisrael Chai. Am Yisrael Chai. Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael Chai. Od Avinu Chai, Od Avinu Chai, Od Avinu, Od Avinu, Od Avinu Chai. Am Yisrael Chai, Am Yisrael Chai. Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael Chai.
I got to get a picture of this. I wish you could see it from up here. It's really overwhelming and inspiring. Wave those flags. Woo! Thank you. Thank you all for being here, to this amazing community. For those of you who couldn't be here but sent in notes of gratitude and encouragement and support, thank you for all you do every day to keep this community strong and to support our college students and our entire next generation. That's what a vibrant, thriving Jewish community is all about. Thank you for being here. I'm Mark Baker, President and CEO of Combined Jewish Philanthropies. If you can't see me, I want to start with gratitude as well to my amazing CJP colleagues who worked so hard to put this together in just 2 days. Because this is what we do. Rabbi Zarki, Miriam Orr, thank you for being here, for your words. I want to give a huge shout out to all of the campus professionals. These folks signed up to bring joyful Judaism to our next generation, to shape their hearts and minds, and they've become therapists and advocates and security officers. We see you. We are indebted to you. Thank you for all you do every day. Of course, to all the college students here and across Boston and across this country, thank you for showing up every day. Thank you for your courage. Thank you for your pride. We love you and we have your backs. This is a challenging and an incredibly emotional time for all of us, and especially for those of us who are parents of college students right now. And as a parent myself of one of them, I want to say a huge thank you to our speakers today, Lishi, Julia, Roni, Liat. Your poise, your maturity, your confidence, your pride, your courage, it's truly extraordinary to stand up here in front of a crowd like this. Thank you. I have never been prouder to speak after my own child. I'm so proud of him and of his peers, and I'm so grateful to this community for helping to raise him and making him into the person he is today, ready to play his part in this fight. Thank you all for being our village. You know, several months ago when all of this was playing out and some people were seeing the writing and the activism of Lishi and his friends, someone sent me a note and said, "I'm so sad for them. I feel so sad." And I thought about it for a few minutes. And then I started thinking about something that Lishi actually said in a speech to a room full of people his parents and grandparents' age. He said, "Grown-ups, don't be sad for us. Don't coddle us. What we need you to do is to educate us, to give us the tools to stand up for who we are and to live in a challenging world, and yes, even a world where there are people who hate us and aren't afraid to say it." I think this past many months has been a kind of welcome to Jewish history moment for us and our children. I'm sad and afraid to say we've gotten a little complacent as an American Jewish community, and it is our next generation who is already leading the way, as you've heard today, to recovering the resilience and the strength that have defined the Jewish people's will to survive and thrive for thousands of years. It's been a grueling past 6+ months. After years already of anti-Semitism being on the rise in this country, we're here today because of the ways that the hatred of Israel and Jews has erupted on college campuses, and because, as we've already heard today, our Jewish students are being excluded, harassed, targeted, intimidated in the very halls of academia that are supposed to be cultivating curiosity, inquiry, principled debate, and a sense of belonging for their Jewish students and for all their students. College campuses and higher education are essential to a thriving democracy. And my friends, I believe this fight against anti-Semitism is also a fight for the future of higher education and American democracy. You know, there's a lot of things that most people I speak with in our community actually agree about. We support Israel's right to defend itself and its citizens. We are devastated over the trauma that our Israeli brothers and sisters are living through. We pray, we demand the return of the hostages. And we are heartbroken over the devastation and the suffering of innocent Palestinians in Gaza. War is awful. There are also many things about this Israel-Hamas war, about the politics of the Middle East, about what's going on in this country right now that are complex. Things about which principled people from across our diverse community can and should disagree. There is room in this community, just as there is room in Israel, for a wide range of perspectives on all of these things. To our college students, we will always defend your right to speech and expression as principles of liberal education and a democratic society. And of course, we know that organizing and protesting are hallmarks of that society, just as they're hallmarks of the Jewish ethical and intellectual traditions. But we're here today because what we're seeing on college campuses here in Boston and around the country, and what so many of our students are experiencing, have gone far beyond any of this and have crossed all reasonable lines into outright hate, harassment, and threats to the safety and well-being of Jewish students. We are seeing things that I honestly did not think I would see with my own eyes, and now my own child is experiencing firsthand. It is the oldest hate dressed up as progress. But tell me, what could be more regressive than chants telling Jews to go back to Poland, or encouraging terrorism, calling for eradicating Israel, or encouraging terrorism, or calling for from the river to the sea is not protest. Turning Zionist into a dirty word and calling for the complete ostracization of anyone who supports the existence of a Jewish state is not pro-peace. We need to call this what it is. We need to keep fighting back against demonization and hate, and we need to demand that university leaders enforce their own rules and do everything in their power to keep their Jewish students safe. To our college students, you have the right to be on your campuses and to be proudly Jewish, to support and love Israel, and to do so without fear. I know that many of you are finishing up your semesters right now, and on behalf of all of us, we hope you will get some well-deserved rest and rejuvenation over the summer. In the meantime, this Jewish community is not going anywhere. We're here to tell you that we will do everything in our power to ensure that this is the best place in the country to be a Jewish college student. Our community will continue to show up and to show our faces without fear, because we know what we stand for. We will embrace complexity and debate, and we will also keep fighting disinformation, sharing the truth, and staying true to our values and our moral center. Others may yell, shout, fight, break rules and break laws, and even incite violence. We will stand calmly, proudly, peacefully, and without fear for Israel, for America, and for our Jewish future, and for all of you. Tonight, as we've heard, we begin the last days of Passover. And as Rabbi Zarchi mentioned, we will read about the Israelites coming through the parted waters of the sea. The Torah tells us that the Israelites sang the song of the sea as they crossed through and made it to dry land on the other side. And it's so easy to think of this as a song of joy and jubilation. But theirs was also a journey of trauma and anxiety. Imagine crossing through that sea and seeing the Egyptian army chasing you from behind. Imagine seeing the water on your sides, not knowing if and when it might cave in on you. The journey of freedom is always filled with trepidation and fear. And that's why it requires tremendous courage, faith, and hope that if we persevere, we will make it to the other side. We will write the story of our future, and we will build a better tomorrow for us and for generations to come. That's what we're doing here today. Thank you for writing that story with us, with our courageous next generation. Am Yisrael Chai. In the spirit of song and hope, let's close this gathering. Come on and join me up here with a song, a prayer for peace and for a better tomorrow. Let's join together in Oseh Shalom. Oseh Shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom.